Hello everyone. Welcome to the course of microbiology. The course has been designed for the MSc second year semester of biotechnology stream, and today's topic is bacteriophages and virology. So let's start the class. Actually, bacteriophages are the viruses which infect bacteria and may be the most abundant form of the life on the planet and are major agent of microbial evolution. E. coli, it is subject to infection by more than 20 phage species. Bacteriophages, they are also important in industry and medicine. For example, many phages destroy the gram-positive lactic acid bacteria that are critical to the production of fermented milk products like yogurt and cheese. Bacteriophages also can carry a variety of virulence factors that convert their host into potent pathogens. For example, Streptococcus pyogenes, Staphylococcus aureus, Corynebacterium diphtheria, Vibrio cholerae, etc. Some researchers also indicates that phages may be effective in treating bacterial infections, including those caused by antibiotic resistant bacteria. So, in this lecture, we will see the overview of two bacteriophages. One is lambda-phage and another is T4 bacteriophage. So, the lambda-phage, which belongs to the realm Diplodnaviria, phylum Uroviricota, order Cardoviriales, family Scyphoviridae. And it, because it infect E. coli, its host is E. coli, and the species is Escherichia virus lambda. Bacteriophage lambda, it actually, as I have told you, it infect the E. coli, and it is discovered by Esther Liederberg in 1950. And generally, the wild type of lambda virus has a temperate life cycle that allows it to either resides within the genome of its host through lysogeny or enter into a lytic phase. The phage particle consists of a head, a tail, as you can see in this figure. The phage particle, the complete phage particle or virion, lambda virion, it consists of a head that is known as capsid, a tail, and tail fibers. These are the tail fibers. The head contains the double-stranded linear DNA genome. Because of the genome nature, its realm is known as Diplodnaviria. Okay. So the head contains the double-stranded linear DNA genome. If we talk about the detailed anatomy of the virus particle consists of 12 to 14 different proteins with more than 1000 protein molecules total and one DNA molecule located in the Fas head. As I have told you, that it is composed of, the whole particle is composed of 12 to 14 different proteins, and you can see here these proteins, that the head major head protein is coded by gene E, and it is known as E protein. Then D protein, it actually compose the head decoration protein. C, which is a minor capsid protein having protease nature, and protein A, which is a large terminase protein. Then protein F, which also constitute the head Fas capsid head proteins. Protein J, it actually devoted for the specificity of the virus towards its host. And the protein MUGLTZ, these are the minor tail protein, where the um, function of M protein and L protein is still unknown. F2 protein, it is tail attachment protein. This is F2 protein. And TFA protein, it is a fiber assembly protein. So these are some proteins which are encoded by different gene located on the genome of the lambda Fas. You can see here the genome of lambda Fas, and the genome, it consists of 48,490 base pairs of double stranded linear DNA with 12 base pair, this cos site, 12 base pair single strand segment at both 5' end. These two single stranded segments are the sticky ends and known as cos sites. Okay, so the cos site recircularize or circularize the DNA in the host cytoplasm, and in its circular form, the Fas genome, therefore, it is of 48,500 two base pair in length. The lambda genome, as I have told you, the wild type of lambda genome, it actually exists as a temperate fast, and it get inserted, the genome of lambda, it get inserted into the E. coli chromosome and is then called a prophase. So let's talk about the life cycle of the lambda Fas. How this lambda Fas, it infect a bacterial cell. Here you can see the outer membrane of E. coli, periplasmic space, cytoplasmic membrane. So this is the typical bacterial envelope structure, E. coli's envelope structure. Because E. coli, it is a gram-negative bacteria, hence it contains a outer membrane apart from this peptidoglycan. So lambda Fas, which is a non-contractile tailed Fas, actually lambda Fas is non-contractile, while T4 Fas, which we will discuss later in this lecture, this is the contractile Fas. So lambda Fas, it is a non-contractile tail Fas, and it interact with the host cell membrane with the help of tail tips. The tip of its tails it interact with a specific pore to allow entry of its DNA to the host. So as you can see here, the bacteriophage lambda, it binds to an E. coli cells with the help of its J protein, which is specific for E. coli. The G protein is specific for E. coli, as I have told previously. So the J protein interacts with the maltose outer membrane porin, maltose outer membrane porin, which is actually the product of the Lambi gene of E. coli. A porin molecule, actually this maltose porin molecule, eh, it is a part of maltose operon, and the linear fast genome is injected through the outer membrane. The DNA passes through the mannose permease complex in the inner membrane. Here you can see this is the mannose permease complex in the inner membrane, and this permease complex is encoded by man XYZ, man XYZ genes, and the products are known as mannose X, mannose Y, and mannose Z. So uh, these permease complex, they are actually located on the inner membrane of E. coli, and the DNA of lambda phage, it passes through this permease and immediately circularize using the cos site. After passing through this permease, the lambda phage DNA, double stranded DNA, it's circularized using the cos sites, which are the base 12 base GC rich cohesive sticky ends, as we have studied, and the single stranded viral DNA ends are ligated. These cohesive ends are ligated by host DNA ligase, and after circularization of this lambda genome, the host DNA gyrase, it puts negative supercoils in the circular chromosome, which causes AT rich region to unwind and drive transcription. So what happens in this case, the genome, when it gets circularized, the host DNA gyrase, it unwind the circular DNA at the point where the AT regions are rich, and as soon as the DNA supercoils, it opens, the transcription starts, and first the early genes, they are or you can say immediate early transcripts are formed. After that, early transcripts and then late transcripts are formed. So you can see in this video how this I think this is not working. So these are the plaque formed after lytic cycle, after lysis of the bacterial E. coli bacterial cells, which have been formed after lysis of the cells. These clear zones are known as plaques, and this opaque region, it is actually the E. coli cells, which are present in this plate as a form of LAN. So this bacterial LAN, it is lysed by these lambda phases, and where the cell lysis takes place, the clear zone has been appeared in the form of plaques. So okay, so this is all about the lambda phase. Let's talk about the T4 bacteriophage. What are the T4 bacteriophage? Actually, T4 bacteriophage, they belongs to T event phages, and the host of T4 phase is also E. coli, and they also belongs to the same realm as the lambda phase, that is diplo DNA viria, and class is same, that is Cardoviristes, but the family is different. The lambda phase, it belongs to Cyphobiridae family, while T4 bacteriophage, it belongs to Myoviridae family, and the species is E. coli virus T4. So T event phages are double-stranded DNA bacteriophage with complex contractile tails. As we have studied that the lambda phages are non-contractile DNA bacteriophages, while these T event phages are contractile tail bacteriophages. So T4 bacteriophage life cycle, it undergoes lytic cycle that culminates with the host cell bursting and releasing virions. Virus that reproduce solely in this way are called virulent viruses. So you can see that this T4 bacteriophage, it is also composed of a icosahedral head, that is known as capsid. It remains attached with a contractile tail and tail fibers. It also possesses a base plate uh, in its tail, and some whiskers are also found at the collar or neck side, and overall symmetry of this T4 bacteriophage, it is known as complex capsid symmetry. So in this figure, you can see electron micrograph of E. coli infected with T4. So if we focus on this electron micrograph, we can see the various stage of this T4 bacteriophage, how it attaches itself on the bacterial cell, and then it introduces its genome inside the cell, and how here you can see the cell get lysed, and bacterial cell wall it disrupted, and the virion particle it released outside the cytoplasm. So let's talk about the next part of the this lecture, that is the how this T4 enters in E. coli cell. So T4 entry in E. coli cell, it is known as adsorption and penetration of T4 on E. coli, and this absorption and penetration, it involves 5 steps. First is landing. Actually, bacteriophages, they do not randomly attaches to surface of a host cell. They actually fasten to a specific surface structure called receptors, and the nature of these receptors varies with the phase. Cell wall lipopolysaccharides and proteins, teichoic acids, flagella and pili, it can work as receptor. The T event phages of E. coli use cell wall lipopolysaccharides or protein as receptor. Okay. So variation in receptor properties is at least partly responsible for phase host preferences. And T event phase adsorption involves several tail structures. Phase attachment begins with a tail fiber contacts the appropriate receptor. So as soon as this landing occurs, where the fast particle it attaches itself onto the bacterial cell surface. After that, the attachment it occurs via the tail fiber contact. As more tail fibers make contact, the base plates settle down on the surface. So next, after landing, when it lands on the bacterial cell surface, second step is attachment, where tail fibers they make contact with the cell envelope, and binding of this bacterial fibers and base plates with the viral fibers and base plates with the bacterial cell surface. It is due to electrostatic interaction and is influenced by pH and the presence of ions such as magnesium ion and calcium ion. After the base plate is seated firmly onto the cell surface, conformational changes occur in the base plate and sheath both, and the tail sheath reorganizes so that it shortens from a cylinder 24 rings long to one of 12 rings. So this process is known as tail contraction, in which the tail sheath it shortens by 12 rings. That is, the sheath becomes shorter and wider, and the central tube or core it is pushed through the bacterial wall. So the next step is penetration. That is, the when the this central tube or core tube it is pushed through the bacterial wall. The base plate contains the protein GP5, which has lysozyme activity. This acts in the penetration of the tube through the peptidoglycan layer, because peptidoglycan it is a very rigid complex structure, and to enter inside the or to rupture this peptidoglycan layer, it actually takes the help of a specialized protein which remains associated with base plate, and it is known as GP5, which has the lysozyme activity. So after penetration, the linear DNA it is extruded from the head through the tail tube and into the host cell. You can see here penetration and unplugging. Okay. After penetration, the unplugging of the tube takes place, and the DNA it moves from head through tail and into the host cell. The tube may interact with the plasma membrane to form a pore through which DNA passes. So finally, the final step is the DNA injection. DNA injection. So here in this electron micrograph, you can see how this T4 bacteriophage it infect an E. coli cell surface, and how it injects its DNA inside the cell. Here you can see this one. The tube it penetrates the cell wall, and then DNA moves through this core tube into the cytoplasm. So next topic is life cycle of bacteriophage, T4 bacteriophage. So actually, uh, it follows in if we compare this T4 bacteriophage with the lambda phage actually it remains as a prophage and it follows the lysogenic pathway, while the T4 phase or T even phages they follow the lytic cycle of bacteriophage. So we have already seen how this bacteriophage, T4 bacteriophage, it attaches itself onto the bacterial E. coli bacterium cell surface and how it injects its DNA inside the cell. So after the DNA injection, if we take this time as a 0 minute, then after within 2 minutes, after injection of T4 DNA into a host E. coli cell, the E. coli RNA polymerase starts synthesizing T4 messenger RNA. You can see here within 2 minutes the messenger RNA of which is specific to T4 bacteriophage, it is synthesized within 2 minutes by E. coli RNA polymerase. This messenger RNA it is known as early messenger RNA. Early messenger RNA directs the synthesis of protein factors and enzyme required to take over the host cell and force it to manufacture additional viral constituents. Okay, so some early virus specific enzymes they degrade host DNA to nucleotides and simultaneously halting host gene expression and providing raw materials for viral DNA synthesis. So you can see within 3 minutes the host's DNA it get degraded and the nucleotide which have been released after degradation of host genome they act as raw material for the replication of DNA of virus. Within 5 minutes, viral DNA synthesis commences. DNA replication is initiated from several origin of replication and it proceeds bidirectionally from each viral DNA replication. You can see here that within 5 minutes, viral DNA synthesis takes place. And viral DNA replication it is followed by the late messenger RNA synthesis and these late messenger RNA they are important in later stage of the infection. These late messenger RNA after 9 minutes the head and tail protein formation or coding of head and tail uh, protein it starts and after 12 minutes the head assembly and tail protein they assembled separately and after 13 minutes the head it is filled with the genome that is DNA which has been replicated in the cell viral genome and after 15 minutes the complete virion particle it is formed and as soon as these virion particles formed after certain time when a threshold concentration of virion particles it achieves the cell lysis takes place and around it takes around 22 minutes. So a supply of fast particles actually it is a very complex process and it is a type of self-assembly process that involves special virus proteins and some host cell factors. Late messenger RNA directs the synthesis of three kinds of proteins: fast structural proteins, Proteins that help with phase assembly without becoming part of the virion structure, and proteins involved in cell lysis and phase release. So, as we have shown, uh, that late messenger RNA transcription begins about 9 minutes after T4 DNA injection here, and all the fast protein required for assembly are synthesized simultaneously and then used in four fairly independent subassembly lines. The base plate, it is constructed of 16 gene products which are assigned numbers rather than names, these 16 gene products. After the base plate is finished, the tail tube is built on it and the sheath is assembled around the tube. The fast pro head, that is capsid, or you can say procapsid, is constructed of 10 proteins, and a special portal protein is located at the base of the prohead where it connects to the tail. The portal protein, it participates in DNA packaging. DNA packaging, it means that the DNA viral genome, it enter inside the head with the help of this portal protein, and this process, that is the filling up of the head with viral genome, it is known as DNA packaging. After completion of the head, it spontaneously combines with the tail assembly. DNA packaging within the T4 prohead is accomplished by a complex of proteins known as pacosome. These proteins, complex of proteins, are known as pacosome. The pacosome consists of the portal protein and a set of proteins called the terminase complex. These terminase complex generates double-stranded ends at the ends of the concatamers created when the viral genome was replicated. The viral genome, it is replicated as a concatamers, and the terminase complex, it generates double-stranded ends at the ends of the concatamers, and these double-stranded ends are needed for packaging the T4 genome. Once generated, the terminase protein and fast DNA join with the portal protein at the base of the prohead. The completed pacosome then moves DNA into the prohead, and this process, it is actually powered by ATP hydrolysis. So, generally, the concatamers cut when the pass head is filled with DNA roughly 3% longer than the length of one set of T4 genes. So, when an E. coli bacterium, it is filled with about 150 virus particles, the special proteins, two proteins are involved. One directs the synthesis of an enzyme that attacks peptidoglycan in the host cell wall, and it is termed as T4 lysozyme, and another protein known as holins, which creates a hole in the E. coli plasma membrane, and that's how these virion bacteriophage T4 bacteriophage virion, they releases outside the cell. So this is all about the life cycle of bacteriophage. So these videos are actually not able to play on this Google Meet site. So let's talk about that next. The one-step growth experiment. The one-step growth experiment, actually, it was developed by Max Delbruck and Emory Ellis in 1939. In a one-step growth experiment, the reproduction of a large phage population is synchronized so that the molecular events occurring during reproduction can be followed. And for that, a culture of susceptible bacteria, it is mixed with bacteriophage particle, and the phages are allowed a short interval to attach to their host cells. After that, the culture is greatly diluted. So, what happens? Why this dilution is actually carried out? It is carried out so that any virion released upon the host cell lysis, they do not immediately infect new cells, because because of the dilution of this culture, thus the distance between the two cells, it increases, and so these bacteriums are not easily available to the bacteriophage. So after that, because this process is actually done to synchronize the phage population, so that they infect a single phage infect a single bacterium, and so that we can monitor the phage particle released from bacteria after a interval by a plaque assay. Okay, so if we plot a graph between bacteriophage release from host cell versus time, it shows a sigmoidal type of curve, which actually consists of different phase or period, and these phases, they involve latent period. You can see here latent period, eclipse period, this rise period, which is known as burst, and burst size. After that, a plateau has been reached. So if we talk about the initial latent period, during the latent period, which immediately follows phase addition, there is no release of virions. This latent period, it is followed by the rise period, when the host cells rapidly lyse and releases infective phases. Finally, a plateau is reached and no more viruses are liberated. Eclipse period, it can be defined as the initial segment, you can see here, it can be defined as the initial segment of the latent period during the first part of this phase, and host bacteria do not contain any complete infective virions. So up to this 15 minutes, up to 15 minutes, there is no complete virion particle which has been present inside the bacterial cytoplasm. Means host bacteria do not contain any complete infective virions, and from 0 to 15 minutes, it is known as eclipse period. Okay. So next is rise period. Rise period, where the number of bacteriophage particle, it increases at the time increases. And the burst size, it can be defined as the number of viruses produced per infected cell. Number of viruses produced per infected cell. Actually, during the uh, after eclipse period, during the latent period, remainder of the latent period, an increasing number of infective variants are present, but none are released. The latent period ends with the host cell lysis and release of rapid release of variants during the rise period or burst. In this figure, this blue line represents the total number of complete variants, while the red line is the number of free viruses that are unadsorbed plus those released from host cell. That is why the number of these phases are different from that of this blue line. So when E. coli it is infected with an event phase, the growth plateau is reached in about 30 minutes. So 22 to 30 minutes it can defined as a rise period. So a plateau reaches after 30 minutes and the bird size is approximately 100 to 150 variants per cell. The eclipse period, as I have told you, that is before 15 minutes, that is it resides 11 to 12 minutes. And the latent period is around 21 to 22 minutes. So this is all about the one step growth experiment. It is somehow resembles with the bacterial growth curve, but still it is different from bacterial growth curve, because in bacterial growth curve the exponential increase of bacterial cell is there, while in this case you can see a burst, that is the rise period, where if we synchronized all the phases and culture of the bacterium, so at after 20 to 22 minutes there is a burst and release of an increase of fast particle, it is uh, observed, and the burst size can be defined as I have told you, the number of variant particle released per bacterial cell. So this is all about the bacteriophage. Thank you very much.